Welcome to Celestial Insights, a weekly podcast that brings the stars down to earth. I'm your host, astrologer, coach, and intuitive Celeste Brooks. My purpose is to provide practical, unique, and insightful guidance to help you navigate the energies of the week like a boss. Hello, this is Celeste of Astrology by Celeste, and on this episode, I will discuss the astrology for the week of May 31st, 2026. Today is the Jupiter in Leo webinar, so if you are listening to this early enough, there's still time to join. Check out the link in the show notes or go to astrologybyceleste.com. We start at 1 p.m. Pacific time. The benefit of coming live is I will do a few hot take readings as well as you can ask questions. The theme of this week is funny games, and there's 3 big things I want you to think about as you navigate this week. The first thing I want to make you aware of is that we have a full moon at 9 degrees of Sagittarius today. Sagittarius is mutable fire. This sign rules religion, philosophy, higher education, long-distance travel, foreign affairs, publishing, and broadcasting. There is this desire to seek truth, meaning, and expansion. This full moon is conjunct the royal fixed star Antares. It's associated with going to extremes past the point of what is needed. So there's this nature of emotional intensity, obsession, and militancy. And there's a danger of losing your head emotionally. So this is very passionate energy, which can be great for having a heated debate about something, but it can also become excessive. And it's important to remember that this lunar cycle began 2 weeks ago with a new moon at 26 Taurus conjunct the fixed star Algol, which is also associated with losing one's head and catastrophes and chaos. And now we're at the culmination point. So the astrology is continuing with the same message. Don't lose your head, figuratively, where an argument just gets out of control. Avoid people who are combustible. Now, at the same time, the sun in Gemini is conjunct the royal fixed star Aldebaran. And this is associated with integrity, ethics, and honorable leadership. So the sun is shining a light on Aldebaran, and the moon is shining a light on Antares. So this is an important contrast in the sky right now. Antares can push people towards emotional reactivity and crusader energy, while Aldebaran reminds us how we act matters. This full moon opposition between Gemini and Sagittarius is also highlighting the tension between beliefs and information. Gemini wants facts and data. Sagittarius wants meaning and philosophy. So we can see arguments about whose version of the truth gets told. And because the moon represents the people emotionally, while the sun leaders or authority figures, we can see this showing up in everyday life. It could be a teacher trying to manage wild students as the year ends. It could be a newsroom fighting over which international story gets attention and the boss has to make a decision. It could be people emotionally reacting online about ideological differences, which happens every day, but notice the nature of what they're talking about and if people are really get into waxing philosophically while others are just giving the facts. And it can show up on the local streets, a Gemini topic, where The beat cop has to try to take control of reckless drivers speeding excessively. That's the Sagittarius energy, the drag racer, the ones who are doing the sideshow. Regarding the moon phase family of this cycle, we had a new moon where the sun and the moon were both at 9 degrees of Sagittarius on December 1st, 2024. 4 days later, the CEO of United Healthcare was assassinated, allegedly by Luigi Mangione. You can think about the intensity of that event related to the Antares symbology. The first quarter moon of the cycle, where the sun was in Virgo and the moon was in Sagittarius, was on August 31st, 2025. They were both at 8 degrees. Now, today, we have the full moon on May 31st. The sun in Gemini at 9 degrees, the moon in Sagittarius at 9 degrees. What is coming to fruition in your life? Did it start at the new moon of this cycle? Was there a course correction at the first quarter moon? What's illuminated to you? What can you release and let go of? The last quarter moon of this cycle, when lessons are learned, the sun is in Pisces, the moon is in Sagittarius, both at 9 degrees on February 28th, 2027. So these 27-month cycles are really powerful. You can use them for intention setting for larger projects or just witnessing what comes to your attention and events that happen in your life. Now, this full moon at 9 Sagittarius is ruled by Jupiter in Cancer, and Jupiter expands whatever it touches. And Cancer is emotional, protective, tribal, nostalgic. So emotions at this full moon are big right now. People may be reacting from family conditioning, nationalism, or feeling protective over what they believe is there. Now, this can be beautiful energy for celebration, connection, laughter, emotional openness, exploring new things or ideas that you haven't done before. But it can be the best of times or the worst of times energy as people become emotionally reactive very quickly. Now, Mercury rules the Gemini Sun, and Mercury is sextile Chiron in Aries at the 29th degree of crisis and decay. This feels very volatile in terms of conversations escalating quickly. Nervous systems really overloaded. So really notice your thought processes. Is your mind scattered? Is it going all over the place? What can you do? Can you use your breath? Gemini rules the lungs to calm your nervous system down, especially if you're feeling emotionally triggered, unheard, or defensive. Mars in Taurus is adding some stubbornness and friction. And Uranian energy is really active at this full moon. So we may see travel restrictions due to hantavirus or Ebola. Hantavirus is mostly under control, although as I'm recording this on the 26th of the month, there was a patient who just tested positive after weeks that was on that cruise ship. So we'll see what that means, but that seems under control, whereas Ebola is rapidly exploding in Africa. There are over 1,000 cases. And it's really more in line with Saturn, Neptune, and Aries. If you've been listening to me for a while, I've been talking about how we need to be looking for illnesses that have to do with Aries rules the head and redness, including the eyes, like blood coming out of the eyes, nose, or mouth. It seems very in line with Saturn, Neptune, and Aries, and that's one of the symptoms of Ebola. Now, there's no need to be scared personally about it for most people, but it is a problem. And the United States is no longer involved with the World Health Organization. There were 2 cases announced in Italy this week, from people who had traveled in the Congo. So we may definitely be seeing some new travel restrictions related to this crisis. It's a good time just to be careful with fire, gasoline, electrical issues, and be mindful of impulsive reactions because there's a lot of combustible energy in the collective, emotionally and literally. And Uranus is squaring the nodes at this time. The North Node in Pisces, the South Node in Virgo. This is very disruptive energy. Some good wisdom is remember that not every battle needs to become a crusade. Can you think about discernment, moderation, and acting from integrity rather than trying to get the last word? If you've been feeling emotionally overwhelmed by the intensity of the world, one of the best things you can do is reconnect with your inner light. My class, The Proper Care and Feeding of Your Natal Moon, will help you understand your emotional needs, instincts, and patterns through your moon sign, the house it's in, and aspects it's making. When you enroll, you'll also join me for 2 live Q&A sessions where you can ask questions, get chart hot takes, and more. So whether you're brand new to astrology or have been studying charts for years, this course will help you build a more grounded and compassionate relationship with yourself. Learn more and enroll at astrologybyceleste.com or check out the link in the show notes. The next thing I want to make you aware of is that Mercury will enter the cardinal water sign of Cancer on June 1st, and it will stay there until August 9th. That's a really long time for Mercury to be in a sign. At its fastest, it moves through in 3 weeks, but we have an upcoming Mercury retrograde in this sign. Mercury rules communication, transportation, commerce, and the media. And when it moves into Cancer, the collective tone changes. We're moving from its home sign of Gemini, and it's losing dignity as it falls into Cancer. We move from the logic, fast-paced mental stimulation in Gemini into a more emotional, intuitive, and protective way of thinking and communicating. People may start speaking more from emotion than logic. The feeling body becomes activated. And if you were socializing a lot with Mercury and Gemini, constantly talking to people, moving around, overstimulated mentally, then this switch into Cancer can make people feel like they want to retreat, go home, unplug, reconnect with your inner world. And I think we may become aware of something at the Sagittarius Full Moon related to long-distance travel and health as Mercury enters Cancer, because the first thing it does is square Neptune in Cancer. And Neptune rules confusion, illusions, illnesses. Now, it's not necessarily going to be an announcement immediately, but the full moon's light is shed for the next 2 weeks. By the time Mercury squares Saturn on June 9th, there could be some news. Saturn brings restrictions, boundaries, and limitations. So there could be news coming related to borders, safety measures around travel, and concern around protection. Now, to be clear, there's no evidence that there's going to be a large-scale pandemic. So there's no reason to start getting really nervous yourself, because Mercury moving into Cancer and then retrograding in the sign suggests there's going to be an intensified energy about protection, containment, safety, and emotional security. Mercury enters its shadow on June 12th. And so pay attention to what develops in your life and the collective at that time. Small issues and delays and emotional situations can bubble up. communication problems, or logistical concerns that come up at that time can be part of the larger retrograde story later. So maybe circle June 12th on your calendar. Mercury retrograde official, it stations retrograde June 29th at 26 degrees of Cancer, and then remains retrograde until July 23rd when it stations direct at 16 degrees of Cancer. So that part of your chart between 16 and 26 will get what's called 3 coats of paint. That is how my teacher Rebecca Gordon described retrogrades, and it's really a beautiful imagery that you can see. That part of your chart is going to be very activated by this retrograde, which can be a beautiful opportunity to learn and integrate something. Now, the World Cup begins right around the shadow period, which makes me raise my eyebrow since Mercury rules travel, transportation, and logistics. So the first pass can be the initial event, realization, conversation on or issue. The second pass during the retrograde is the revision, emotional processing, a return to the matter. And the third pass is the resolution, integration, and understanding. So this is a beautiful time for spiritual work, journaling, reconnecting with intuition, working with oracle cards, paying attention to your dreams during this whole Mercury and Cancer transit. It's a great time to go inward instead of constantly outward. And this is why I timed the proper care and feeding of the moon class the way I did, because you'll be working with the moon in your natal chart during this time with Mercury and Cancer. It's a wonderful time to deepen your relationship with your own internal emotional wisdom and intuition. So if you've been wanting to slow down, reconnect spiritually, and work more intentionally with your emotions and intuition, sign up for the course. You can go to the link in the show notes or my website, astrologybyceleste.com. The last thing I want to make you aware of is that we have a disseminating moon phase starting at 28 degrees of Capricorn on June 4th. The disseminating phase is a phase of spreading information, announcements, realizations, and collective conversations. Something is going to circulate. Information moves outward into the collective consciousness. And Capricorn is associated with governments, institutions, corporations, authority figures, structures, the elderly, and the establishment itself, tradition. The moon is in the sign of its detriment in Capricorn, exiled, as far away from home as it can be with no hopes of recovery, is how William Lilly describes detriment. So notice when you see stories around exiles. Now, the sun in Gemini is in a sesqui-square with the moon in Capricorn at this disseminating moon. So conversations are spreading, statements are being made. Pay attention to what reports and disclosures are coming out. And the U.S. natal chart is highly active because the sun in Gemini will be at 13 degrees and the United States descendant, meaning our allies and open enemies, is at 12 degrees of Gemini. And the moon in Capricorn is going to be conjunct Pluto of the United States chart in the second house of values, as well as resources and money. Pluto themes are always intense. Power, control, exposure, transformation can be what we're hearing about. So there could be some major announcements or developments regarding leadership figures, corporations, governments. And the moon in Capricorn is squaring Chiron in Aries. So there's a wounded quality to this energy. There may be discussions about weakness in leadership, vulnerability, health matters, aging leaders. Capricorn rules the bones, the knees, and the aging process itself. And there can be some strain on structures at this time. When I looked at this disseminating moon, I got death of a statesman. And no, I'm not speaking about the president, but whether literal or symbolic, this feels like an ending point connected to authority, leadership, legacy structures. You just may be seeing some statesman who looks like he's got one foot in the grave, like Mitch McConnell. There's a missing congressperson from New Jersey that's been in the news. I'm not predicting any literal event, but that's what the imagery I am getting. You're looking at somebody who is so old that you feel like they should be passing the torch to a younger leader who's going to be able to represent the people with more passion and energy. Let's just pay attention to what is hearing. What are you sharing? Maybe you're thinking about your own vitality, and legacy is another Capricorn word. What do you want to disseminate your belongings, money, and resources to your children or organizations or nieces or nephews? With the sun in Gemini could be what you're contemplating. The theme of this week's podcast, Funny Games, comes from an unsettling movie that was debuted in 1997 by Michael Haneke. There is an English version that came out in 2007, I believe, with Naomi Watts and Tim Roth, and it is edge of your seat intensity. It's about a family at this beautiful home, and their life is turned upside down when some teenagers break into their house. It's a horror movie, but the real horror of the movie is not just the violence, but the unpredictability and the manipulation, the nervous system overload these young people are causing the adults. And this really fits in with the astrology, the intensified full moon in Sagittarius, ruled by Jupiter in Cancer, which rules the home, and the sun's in Gemini, which rules young people. And there's a level of intensity with the full moon conjunct Aldebaran. And as the World Cup approaches, maybe this is the funny games we're talking about, where there's some new restrictions put in place regarding the travel to try to keep people safe. And Mars is in the sign of its detriment in Taurus, and Mars rules competitions. This astrology feels like the tension between celebration and anxiety, global unity and tribal fear, movement and containment, the truth and manipulation. Just remember, try not to lose your head. The Birthdate Company makes amazing products, and I am a proud affiliate. I especially love the Birthdate book. It's a fully personalized, beautiful, and unique reading of your birth chart with over 70 pages of detailed horoscope analysis. It is such high quality. I absolutely love it. They also make amazing birthdate candles. You can get it for yourself or as a gift for someone else. So check out the store and use my coupon code Celeste10 for a 10% discount. Go to bit.ly/3PW3NFM. You can find that in the link in the show notes. Enjoy. On Sunday, the word of the day is crusade. We have the full moon at 9 degrees of Sagittarius at 1:44 a.m. Pacific time. Full moons are a time of full reveal. We can celebrate any wins. Emotions are high. People who work in certain fields know to be really aware that people are going to be getting a little bit more amplified in their emotional reactions, like bus drivers and police officers, people who walk in emergency rooms know they're going to be really busy. It's also a great time at the full moon to release what is no longer serving you, practice forgiveness, and interact with others. This is the day Mercury and Gemini sextiles Chiron and Aries, both at 29 degrees. Great time for journaling. You may come to some decisions about what you need to end. If you're someone who has a lot of nervous energy, you may decide you need to do something about it and start some kind of new course to help yourself get out of your head and into your body, or new practice or meditation or breath work. Yeah, great time to join the Proper Care and Feeding of the Moon class. Sagittarius educates. Remember, not every battle needs to be a crusade, but we're going to be seeing and hearing talk about crusades likely on this day or over the coming days. On Monday, the word of the day is aviation. Mercury enters the sign of Cancer at 4:55 a.m. Pacific time. Your thoughts may turn to protection, home, family, ancestry. The Capricorn Moon begins at 6:18 p.m. Pacific time. The moon is in the sign of its exile. So as we move from Sagittarius to Capricorn, things can get a little serious. People can get grounded. It's a great time to attend to practical matters, to plan, and what resources do you need to do whatever. But remember, the moon's in exile, so people can be a little bit detached from their feelings and say things that can cause others agitation. And the Capricorn moon will oppose Mercury and Cancer, both at 1 degree. Notice if you see a boss say something to an employee or a parent to a child and they burst out crying or something like that. Notice you may be a little extra emotional, or emotions may take you by surprise on this day. On Tuesday, the word of the day is constrict. The Gemini Sun will sextile Saturn and Aries, both at 12 degrees. Sextiles are opportunity. Saturn is disciplined. It brings in themes of duty and boundaries, so there may be a spotlight on these themes. There can be a great opportunity for you to think about how you can get more disciplined. And then the Capricorn moon will square Saturn and Aries. So this is kind of like a buzzkill kind of energy. It's very serious and somber in a lot of ways. Great time to get work done. On Wednesday, the word of the day is gaslight. And I was getting the song Crystal Blue Persuasion playing in my mind. This is a really active day. Mercury in Cancer is trying the North Node in Pisces at 3 degrees. This is beautiful energy for emotional connection with a group. Now, there's a hammer of Thor in the sign where the Capricorn moon is sesqui-square Uranus and Gemini on one side, and Saturn and the South Node in Virgo on the other side. And Uranus is squaring the South Node, and the hammer of Thor can knock the top off of mountains. So it'll be really interesting to see how this shows up. And this makes me think about health news. It'll be interesting if there are any announcements around masks somewhere. You may want to wear one if you're flying on an airplane. On this day, the Capricorn moon will oppose Venus and Cancer at 18 degrees of each sign. So this can be people feeling a little emotionally disconnected or unloved or just a little blue on this day. The big aspect is Mercury at 4 degrees of Cancer will square Neptune and Aries at 4 degrees. Somebody's given somebody a snow job and they know they're being gaslit. You can just feel it in your gut. And that could be what is happening with the Capricorn moon opposite Venus. Somebody's being lied to or manipulated. And the moon will oppose Jupiter in Cancer on this day. And this can be bringing up emotional reactions. On Thursday, the word of the day is discovery. The disseminating moon is at 28 degrees of Capricorn. So whoever was gaslit yesterday can be doing some research today. And the Capricorn moon will square Chiron and Aries, both at 29 degrees, and then move into Aquarius at 6:45 a.m. Pacific time. Aquarius is an air sign, and so the moon gains some dignity as it moves out of the sign of its detriment, where people can have a higher view, be more logical and intellectual about what is going on. Aquarius rules groups, organizations, technology, the collective. Can you notice what's going on with detachment? You may have internal discoveries as well as discovering other things. Mercury in Cancer is quincunx Pluto retrograde in Aquarius, both at 5 degrees. This feels like very protective energy. Aquarius rules aviation and Pluto transforms things. And the quincunx is an adjusting energy. It's a 150-degree aspect. Quincunxes move us into situations where we have to release and let go of something. The moon will meet Pluto in Aquarius, so this is a group of people under pressure about something. Courtrooms are going to be really intense on this day. The judge may have to really put their foot down to keep order in the court. On Friday, the word of the day is compete. The Aquarius moon will square Mars and Taurus, both at 13 degrees. People may feel like they're really competing for resources, attention, control. This is uncomfortable because Aquarius energy can create emotional detachment, while Mars and Taurus becomes increasingly irritated under the surface. And this can show up as really stubborn standoffs, passive aggressive behavior, people and crowds getting really aggressive, and tension within groups, organizations, even friend groups. On Saturday, the word of the day is endings. The moon in Pisces begins at 5:42 p.m. Pacific time. Pisces is the last sign of the zodiac. There's always something ending. It is mutable water. It's very intuitive. It's a time to go within, get quiet. Silence is golden. But then the moon squares Uranus at 2 degrees of Gemini. And this is a disruptive energy. This can be, you can be awakened to something, awakened to that you need to end something. And then the moon meets the North Node. People can be connected in a group and deciding to make some kind of change. It may feel like it's abrupt, but it's just what was known coming to the surface. So that's it for this week's episode. I hope to see you at the free Jupiter and Leo workshop, or join me in my course, The Proper Care and Feeding of the Moon. Feel free to email me at celeste@astrologybyceleste.com with any astrology and action stories. Take care, and I'll catch you next week. Thank you for listening to Celestial Insights. To learn more about my work, please visit my website, astrologybyceleste.com, where I offer personal readings, horary consultations, cosmic coaching, group events, and classes to help guide people to higher levels of fulfillment. You can also find me on Instagram, YouTube, TikTok, and Facebook at Astrology by Celeste. If you enjoyed Celestial Insights, please help others find the show. Follow, rate it 5 stars, or write a nice review. I would so appreciate it.
I'm astrologer, coach, and intuitive Celeste Brooks, and I'll be back next week.